Yeah. At some point or another, I would have to get around to this game during this Emergent Exploration series, because Proteus really is one of the pure examples of it. I mean, I said that of Dear Esther, I think, in the last video, but Proteus really is, when you think of the term Emergent Exploration, everything in this game literally emerges from exploration. So, what is Proteus? To those who don't know, it is a procedurally generated, or I think it's procedurally generated. Every time I played it, there's only been very, very subtle differences, but it's generated game where you explore an island. And that's it. You explore an island, and you're supposed to figure things out from there. Oh my. So, just to show you what I'm working with in terms of graphics, 720p, full screen, field of view all the way to 100 to make everyone cream their pants at the sheer wideness of the screen. One thing that is notable about this game is its musical integration of the visuals and, well, the music and the gameplay mechanic of exploring. You explore through the game world and music happens. Not like in other games though, and I'm about to show you why. So I'm gonna click on this island. And let's dive into Proteus. Yes. Now, Emergent Exploration has a more derisive term applied to it: walking simulator. Walking simulator. In terms of describing the genre, that may be fairly accurate, but it kind of like overshadows what a lot of these games actually manage to accomplish. Like Dear Esther manages to become a walking suicide note. Stanley Parable manages to deconstruct gameplay narrative. Proteus, I don't know what the heck Proteus is doing, to be honest, but apparently people like it, so I'm just going to adjust the horizon and we shall start this game. Now, one thing that I should note is that the art style of this game is fairly striking. Like, it generates a 3D-ish world using 16-bit graphics. Actually, I wouldn't even call these 16-bit. I would call these like pseudo 8-bit graphics. Really. But that's just me. Now, one of the things that distinguishes Proteus is, of course, its fantastic usage of color. I mean, look at all those different colors on those trees. Man, isn't that something? Let's ponder the beauty of nature. Well, faux nature. Alright, so I stayed silent there for a couple seconds. I just wanted you to get acquainted with the music of this game, which is... it's curious. It's a blend. Like, for instance, you'll walk across beside structures like these. There we go. And these structures will produce some musical tones that interact with the playing music in interesting ways. Now, walking past these structures is pretty much one of your only ways of actually interacting with the game world. But you can tell that the music is generally very, very, very chill. Like chill almost to the point of ambient music. Now, I have played this game. I did a pseudo review of it near the end of 2013 because this game released, I think, in January 2013. And I did a pseudo review of it on 2-dash called 12 and 12. And Proteus, I mentioned I didn't very much like because I don't think it actually managed to do anything substantial with the genre of emergent exploration. And I came up with a term for that genre, actually, because a lot of these games are listed on Wikipedia as exploration games, and like, that's just a mechanic. You're just calling them a mechanic, and I'm like, that really... No, these games are more than that. Obviously. And you could see here the rain adding their own little kind of like musical effect to things. I gotta say, one of the things that this game does well is integrating weather effects into the game world. Like, you can they actually do cause tangible differences in the game world. And it is through music. Let's be honest here, it's only through the music that it manages to have an actual effect, but what an effect it is. And you can't get past the fact that even if this game does manage to do absolutely nothing with its core concept, it's still a beautiful game. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to really argue with the fact that this can be a visually striking game. So I'm actually going to adjust a few things. I'm going to adjust the options because I noticed the frame rate tanking there, and I'm wondering if it had anything to do with this extra long draw distance, so I'm going to turn that off. Accept. And we'll see if that affects things substantially. If not, I'll have to tweak a few more of the graphics options, even though there's not that many more to actually tweak, but there we go. So we'll jump into this new world. Uh-oh. But you go on to the Wikipedia pages, you go on to the Steam pages, and not even the games themselves can really agree, even though you hear a lot of games like the Stanley Parable coming out, and games like The Fourth Wall, and they cite Dear Esther and stuff as inspirations, and you hear, and Journey even, you see brought up a lot in conversations like these, and you can see the developers are kind of like agreeing that these are all kind of like part of the same clique or same genre, but they keep calling them exploration games or first-person exploration games, and it's like, it needs a better title, so I thought up the name Emergent Exploration. And if you look up the dictionary meaning for emergent, it means to arise as a consequence of exploration. That's why I came up with that little title. Chickens. Now, the purpose of this game, from what I've been able to gather, is that it is a combination of visuals and music to create almost like a Zen experience. Adjust the horizon a bit. And a lot of people have actually been very heavily influenced by this game. I just had an Indie Stash cast conversation with Robin Arnott, the developer of the upcoming game Sound Self for the Oculus Rift, and he described Proteus as a very meditative experience. Now, the lead designers of this game actually purposely said that they didn't intend for this game to be meditative, but a lot of people, ooh, structure, that's the first structure I've ever seen in Proteus. I'm gonna go towards that. Isn't that interesting? So I can't actually go in this structure. Now, this is one of the problems I have with this game. In a game that prides itself so much on the exploration of a game world, it doesn't allow you to actually go inside a structure that otherwise is pretty much valueless. I mean, this structure being here has almost no real impact on the game. So I'm wondering why it was ever included. Because this structure looks ugly as hell and contrasts badly with everything around it, so I don't know what the designers were thinking, but I'm going to try and position the center. Yes. We shall get a nice cinematic shot here while I try and explain further. I had a nice conversation with Robin Arnott, and he mentioned that the combination of the visuals and the music was very influential for his design philosophy for Sound Self. And it caused me to reevaluate slightly this game. Now, I still don't actually think Proteus is a great example of the genre, because quite frankly it really doesn't do anything really besides add some combination of visuals and music together into this sort of Zen experience. And to be fair, a lot of gamers will be fine with that. A lot of people will be fine with the Zen experience. I mean, people were fine with the impressionist paintings. People have been fine with music videos for ambient music that basically just, yeah, they're basically like meditation Zen experiences. This sort of game will always have people who like it. As for me, though, I just need a bit more than that. Now you can hear the music going through different variations and stuff, but the soundtrack for this game is actually one long track, and I suspect that they just mix together different layers of the track over the time of the player exploring this game world. And they mixed it together very deliberately to create almost kind of like this mushy kind of like musical track. It doesn't entirely not work. There are actually some moments in this game where I'm like, yeah, that was a pretty clever little musical moment you have here. I mean, like, the sounds these animals make. In other games, like in a lot of other games with lots of emphasis on exploration, like a lot of sandbox games, wildlife is basically just exists. It's nothing more than a tiny little visual detail, but these actually integrate them, and Proteus actually integrates most things in this game into its game world relatively well. And it's through the use of musical cues and obviously some visuals that are intended to help craft this Zen kind of atmosphere for the game. Now, you got to admit, like, even a person as jaded as me can admit that is a beautiful, beautiful sight. It's like, and because you're interacting with this game world, because you're exploring it in your own manner, in your own fashion, with your own sense of haste and speed, that's what makes it meaningful. Now, I'm not saying all of a sudden saying, oh, this is a great game. I mean, there's still things that could do a bit better. Like, I mean, it could have more music, I want to say, or it could make the musical interactions in this game, it could make more of them, is what I'm saying. Add more depth to the proceedings. But sometimes this game actually does manage to produce like a Zen-like effect on me. Right now I'm just kind of like in awe of its like visual beauty and stuff, but a lot of people don't really like this sort of art style. But I think this game was meant to be taken almost like as a reflection on video gaming's graphical histories and all that sorts of stuff, and I think a lot of people can appreciate beautiful pixel art. I mean, Fez, if you take a look at that game, now that is a gorgeous game, and that's an owl. Let's contemplate that owl. What does it mean? What does it mean? Oh no, there goes the owl. But this is the game that is pretty much the purest possible emergent exploration experience. And another reason I came up with that term for the genre is because emergent exploration kind of like shortens very nicely into MX, reminiscent of 4X for strategy games. It's like 4X game, you immediately know what that's like. So I was like, why not MX? You know, it's catchy enough. Ooh, those just regular stars, because there is sort of an objective to this game, that's to explore for as long as possible. I think there's also the point where you have to find a trail of lights that leads you to a place that speeds up time. And I think the defining purpose of this game, beyond its Zen-like aspirations, is to provide a link between the relationship between our understanding of time and our appreciation of art. Because I'll try and show you those blinking lights if I can actually find the bloody things. Ooh, but that is a nice shot. I gotta adjust the horizon, and yeah. Now, there they are. There they are. Okay, let's get to those. See if we can line up the horizon for a nice cinematic shot. Proceeds ever onward. Now, there is one thing I'd like to point out, is that the fact that none of the objects in this game world are particularly pleasing to the eye. I mean, if you look up close at that sun, it's got jagged edges. All the trees have jagged edges. Everything in this game kind of like has a jagged edge to it. Now, in the terms of this game, all I can interpret that for is, well, the beauty of the beholden. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So we shall move into that circle. This starts a new musical phase in the game. Wow, those things gave quite the speed boost, I gotta say. Alright, so let's find what the purpose of this next phase in the game is. I've completed this game like 2 or 3 times, mostly as a result of me trying to get more familiar with what this game actually adds to the genre. But in essence, basically, it's just a meditation on time, our appreciation of art, that sort of thing. It's a Zen-like experience, like I said. It has proven influential, though, so that's why I've been forced to revisit it even more. Like I said, I don't think anyone can disagree with the fact that this game does manage to have some beautiful elements to it. Now, what are you still following me for, bees? So, here are some of the weirdest aspects of this game. These are actually, I think, statues. Were they left behind by a civilization or something? Who knows? The game doesn't give you any more context than that, though they do appear to be animalistic in nature. The game just has a dearth of information about the game world, and I know I said in De-Resser that the vagueness of that game, the amount it left up to interpretation, was to its benefit. This is an example of vagueness to a game's detriment, because it really is exceedingly vague. Like, I can't, it's too obtuse for me. But it is fun to get all these cinematic shots for this game because, like I said, you can't really beat visual beauty. Now, pixel art, I pointed out Fez before, because Fez is really, like, you have to play that game. It's one of the best puzzle games I've ever played in my life. It's gorgeous, it's got an amazing soundtrack, and I don't care what you think of Phil Fish, the game deserves to be played. It's probably as pure a video game experience as you're gonna get on the Xbox Live Indie Arcade. Ooh. Staring at the sun, blinded by its majesty. Okay, so let's find the point of this world. Alright, bees, chase me. Where'd they go? Oh, there they are. Are we supposed to be following that? I shall see. Emergent Exploration in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry. Emergent Exploration in a nutshell, basically. Proteus is probably the epitome of the genre, like the purest possible expression of the genre. It does build up a nice sense of speed. So we're gonna try and locate exactly where the next little spell is gonna take out. It's gonna happen. I wasn't lying when I said that this game had effective use of color. I mean, I haven't seen a more colorful game in my life. Like, in terms of just pure... well, color! It's like, I remember Roger Ebert said that there was a film released way back in 1931, I think, The Adventures of Robin Hood, starring Errol Flynn, and it was filmed using the 3-strip Technicolor process, and as a result, that movie had a richness of color that modern films haven't barely approached, even though they're ostensibly more colorful. But this game definitely utilizes color to the fullest extent. What is that? That was interesting. Now, if you're viewing this footage and you're like, this is the game for me, believe it or not, I fully understand. Like, this game does have some pretty awesome moments. Regardless of what side of the video game spectrum you're on, whether you like Call of Duty or stuff, sometimes games like this can appeal to people, and I don't blame them. This is a beautiful experience. It's just, I wish it did more with its beauty in terms of audio and visuals. As an audio person, like as a trained audio professional, like this scene with its meldings of the music of the sun burning your eyes and all the insects and everything coming together, it's just a it does work on a purely audio perspective to instill this sense of audio having an actual effect on the game world. This is one of the few games, to this game's credit, that fully integrates audio into the game experience. Now, this is the bleakest stage of the game, and as such, it has the bleakest music. Now, the full soundtrack that I bought for this, it came with the Humble Bundle release of Proteus. Oh my god, this is probably my favorite section of the game, simply because I like red and orange and green. I like contrasting colors like this. It's something else. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, the Proteus soundtrack that I got is a single 13-minute track or so, and it just heaps all of the music in this game together, and I think that's to its detriment as well, because the strength of this game, as far as I can tell, is the musical interaction of you in the game world. To edit that into a definitive kind of like piece on the soundtrack is kind of like almost defeating the purpose, in my opinion. But yeah, this definitely does have a very, very soothing effect, this rain, because I happen to like rain. In Vancouver, it's actually pouring buckets right now as I'm recording this, and it's like, yeah. That's why I moved back to Vancouver. What is... Oh, that's a tree. You can actually go in the cloud. There's another structure. It's possibly the same structure. Yes, I do believe it is exactly the same structure. I'm trying to click and nothing's happening, so... Oh yeah, baby. Check in all those 32-bit colors. Yeah. But this section of the game almost has like a funeral tone to it. It's definitely not as bright in terms of musical stylings. Ooh, is that a fox? No, it's just something. One of the other visual quirks of this game is that you can't really figure out what is what sometimes because due to the abstract nature of its pixel art design, but whatever, we can deal with that. We can deal with that. I think one of the strengths of this genre is that it allows you to explore kind of like a virtual world on your terms. Now, there's a lot of other games like open world sandboxes that kind of allow you to do that. I say kind of because they very much restrict you in terms of what you're actually allowed to do. I know Grand Theft Auto 5 has a lot of little quirks to it that doesn't let you fully explore the world. But games like this, games like Proteus, games like Journey, games like Jazzpunk, Stanley Parable, The Fourth Wall, Eidolon, they allow you to explore virtual worlds at a pace that is your own. And they put as few obstacles in the way as possible to your enjoyment of your exploration of the game world. This is a moment where the game's actually working its magic on me. rain clouds in the distance. I think we found out where the light source is going to be coming from later. Are these gravestones? I think they might be. Get a shot of that, my friend. Visual beauty. This is what games can do. I fully believe that emergent exploration games like this, like The Arrestor, are showcases for what games can actually do as a narrative kind of like art form. Now, don't get me wrong, I actually do like other games that manage to showcase a lot what games can do, like Mass Effect 3. I grew up on the Mass Effect trilogy. It's probably my defining experience as a gamer. Skyrim, I effing love that game. There's no ways I can express that. Oh god. That was good. Skyrim, Fire Emblem, Halo Combat Evolved, Call of Duty even. I like mainstream games, but sometimes for a balance, kind of like artistic, kind of like diet games like these can be necessary. Doesn't that just give you the chills, that contrast between the bright colors of the last few levels and this? I'm thinking this is supposed to represent winter, rather than any actual death of the world, but you gotta admit, that contrast really makes you think that this is death, right? But then the sleigh bell almost-ish kind of sounds chime in and you're like, yeah, this isn't death, this is music. Still, very eerie. It's almost like he landed on an alien world. Huh. There's this alien quality to everything here that just, yeah, I think that's the vast ocean and that it's frozen over. So yeah, definitely winter. I've always interpreted this as winter. And Proteus is like, kind of like a musical definition of the four seasons almost. There is a slight arc to all of this. So for those looking for arcs in their narrative, well, it provides it. It's just not terribly clear of what everything else in the game is supposed to represent. Like, what was that house for, really? What were those animalistic sculptures for, really? Vagueness to its detriment, unfortunately. But still, you gotta admire that. The sheer beauty of the desolateness of winter sometimes, eh? I remember walking through the streets of Edmonton once, and it was alongside a very big expanse of snow because there was this undeveloped area in Edmonton. And it was just, I had Bon Iver on the iPod, and it was like, oh, winter can be so beautiful sometimes in its own cruel, cold way. That is one big tree. These are frozen birds, I think. Or maybe they might be frozen leaves. Who knows? Set up a nice horizon shot. Snow. Finally, it starts to fall. Now, I gotta admit, I think with all of the visual kind of like bluster of the first 3 or so stages, this might have the most like definite impact because of the contrast. Oh, and suddenly we're floating above the clouds, floating above the ground. I'm gonna try and get above this cloud cover and see what's up. So now, yeah, we're permanently above the cloud cover. Now we're going to find out the truth of the matter here. You, reveal your secrets. So, closing thoughts on Proteus, I think in terms of the definition of the genre is kind of like the game you can point to and say, what is emergent exploration? I could say Proteus, dimmest, or maybe as well. Stanley Parable for sure. But Proteus is definitely in the list of genres, in the list of games that define it. Like, it's as pure an experience as you're ever going to get in the genre. And that has its value, even though I don't really like the game that much because it's too vague. But hey. So now we are actually so high above the mountains that I don't think we'll ever be able to reach them again. Deliberate choice? You be the judge. Let's go towards the moon then. And there you have it, Proteus. So we're just gonna hop quickly on the credits. You can see Ed Key and David Kanaga. But just to outline my closing thoughts, everything in this game emerges as a result of exploration. The revelations about the world, the musical interactions, the gorgeous views, I should point out. Everything is a result of exploration, therefore everything emerges from exploration. That's why I titled the genre Emergent Exploration. Now, some people have asked, what is the point of genres in today's day and age? Well, it's a consumer standpoint kind of thing. It's like, genres are helpful to help the ordinary consumer decide what a game is and decide whether they would like to purchase it. For example, if you were to actually, go to Destiny. Destiny is a recent release, and it's labeled as an MMO/shooter. Now, a lot of people would be going like, oh, if one person just said, oh, you shoot things in the game, it would be like, okay, what else is there about it? It's just a nice kind of like shorthand to help. It gives consumers another tool, and that's ultimately what a critic should be. He should be on the side of the consumer, and that's why I think genres are important. And no one has really classified these into a helpful genre. I mean, Walking Simulator is only half the story. Exploration is only half the story. You gotta find some way of explaining to a regular person what actually else is going on in the game world, besides just walking. So, I think this will help explain things a bit more, and that's why I decided to call it Emergent Exploration rather than Exploration, which, quite frankly, is a mechanic, and it's not an actual description of the game. It's an exploration game. You're describing a mechanic, though, so it's not really helpful, really, because technically, Grand Theft Auto 5 is an exploration game. Technically, Oregon Trail is an exploration game. You gotta give a bit more detail than that. So, those are my thoughts on Proteus. And I shall leave it at that. Next game we shall play? It's going to be a surprise, but let me tell you, my friends, there are plenty more beautiful games like this to come. So I'll see you next time.